Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. In this 60-minute session, you'll be introduced to the advanced search concepts for searching MEDLINE. And I hasten to add, this is MEDLINE on the new EBSCOhost interface. So some of you would have already migrated to this new platform. Others are still pending that, as it were. But we are looking at the new interface for this particular session. We have run sessions like this in the past on the classic interface. We still have a recording on the YouTube channel that features this topic within the classic interface for those who need to refer to it, but we are looking at the new platform today. So in this session, we'll look at developing a complex search strategy, incorporating wildcards, proximity search operators, running keyword searches, mesh searches as well, and at saving results as well. So let me just introduce myself formally for those who've not met me before, and I know you have attended some sessions, maybe even recently, but for those who haven't met me, I'm Richard Crooks. I work for the EBSCO Customer Training Services team based in the UK, based in the East Midlands. I'm a chartered librarian with 14 years now with EBSCO and previously 12 years as a medical librarian or related roles, primarily in the NHS in England. So come to the session. And in terms of the objectives for this hour, I hope that by the end of it, you'll be able to plan an appropriate search strategy used in the PICO framework. And I'm sure many of you are already doing this in your line of work, etc. Some more than others, of course. Some may be new to this, but we'll go through the steps for this. Also, be able to form simultaneous title and abstract searches on EBSCOhost. So you may be aware that there are some changes to the interface, and I'll highlight that as we go through the initial presentation and then also illustrate that through the live demonstration as well. Also, you'll be able to use medical subject headings, the mesh terms for authoritative search results, and also combine the two. So essentially the free text or keyword search and the mesh terms together in the search history. So we now have a search history displayed on the advanced search results this page, as we'll see. And you would also be able to find further training resources in support of systematic searching. So I have included some key links to documentation in the PowerPoint itself in any case, but we also refer to the EBSCO Connect support site and other related sites as well as we near the end of the session later on. So I hope that's what you're expecting from this session. So if there's anything else, obviously please feel free to post that in the Teams chat, and time permitting we can look at some things, but we do run other sessions now on a more advanced level, but we are focusing specifically on MEDLINE, the biomedical database, today in this webinar. So in the context of a systematic search of literature, we need to consider, first of all, why am I searching? In support for what? It could be in support of locating a series of articles for a user at their request. It may be in support of it could be in support of a systematic review, of course. Also, what are we looking for? What am I searching? What kind of content? Now, obviously, we are focused particularly on biomedical literature within MEDLINE, but it could also be in another database, etc. It could be related to a particular population group, a particular territory, and so on, or a particular time frame. And then also, how are we searching? How am I searching? Which resources, which limitations should we be factoring into this search, etc. So just some initial considerations when we're looking at a more systematic approach to searching. And then, of course, along with that, we need to determine the type of search we are going to conduct. So again, that might have some bearing on these steps too. So is it a simple lookup to identify one or a small number of research articles that meet a narrow set of criteria? Again, the search might be still quite detailed, quite advanced, but you're not expecting to find everything that's out there necessarily. It could be exploratory. So you want to learn about a concept or body of research, including its characteristics, the terms, the volumes of evidence, the type of research, etc. So it could be a general scoping search, etc. So to see initially what's been done before, what's out there currently, and then you would build the search from there, and then maybe make it more systematic specifically. So you may want to really identify all records on a specific topic through an unbiased, transparent, and of course, reproducible search. So there are different approaches to your search, and again, you may have different requests from different user groups, etc., that you're supporting. For example, with evidence searches, you may be supporting clinicians with assignments, resident doctors with assignments. So again, there are different approaches to searching based on the needs of those you're supporting or in your own area of interest, etc., as well. So to approach the systematic search specifically, then we'll look at a research question initially. We'll also then choose the appropriate framework. We are going to, of course, look at PICO, but there are others out there which I'll introduce as well in a moment. And also we'll look at obviously devising the appropriate search strategy to run the search specifically. And that means we need to consider these elements. So Typically, if we're doing keyword searching, we're going to identify synonyms, related terms for each concept. We have to kind of second guess the authors, the researchers, the editors, what terms are commonly used in the literature in relation to diseases, conditions, etc., patient groups, and so on. We need to also look for each concept one at a time. So a very methodical approach to searching. So again, we would start off with perhaps title abstract searching, and then of course combine that with the mesh subject search as it. Now, some institutions may do that the other way around because it's possible that you may not be so familiar with the topic. Therefore, running a mesh search first might be quite useful because it will give you an indication of the kind of terms that are out there, especially the subject headings, which are more authoritative, which are used to identify content coverage within the database as they are assigned to a particular reference indexed within, for example, MEDLINE. There's also the use of wildcards and proximity operators, so the likes of truncation, to enhance that search, to expand the search, to ensure that you're finding a lot more content than you would if you just simply relied on the basic standard keywords. And then, of course, we look at combining concepts as well. So the keyword search terms, the mesh terms used in the Boolean operators and or primarily. So again, this is just the approach that we're going to be taking in this session as we, of course, go through a live demonstration as well. So we do have a question that we want to answer today in terms of finding the literature in relation to this particular question. So for patients 65 years and older, how does the use of an influenza vaccine compared to not receiving the vaccine influence the risk of developing pneumonia during flu season? So this is our question. You can see I've already highlighted the key terms here. So we've got patients who are over 65. We've got the intervention, if you like, the influenza vaccine compared to not receiving the vaccine. And then the influence of that upon the risk of developing pneumonia. So pneumonia and during a particular time frame, flu season, as it were. So we're kind of into that right now. So again, this is the topic that we're looking at. This is the question that we're going to respond to in terms of what we can find in MEDLINE through a sample search this morning. With that in view, obviously one of the considerations, and it almost is goes without saying, PICO is going to be a commonly used clinical framework that you use to answer a question, especially in this context. And that's what we're going to be doing. But there are others out there to make you aware of. Initially, when I prepared this session, I looked at possibly 25 frameworks, but Andrew Booth et al. Identified 38. So that document there, which is published, I believe, in the BMJ, is still available, and it will give you a listing of the frameworks and the kind of the elements, etc., more information, more details. So it's worth consulting that, because there will be times when you're running searches for yourselves, users, etc., for departments, that they may be, PAO might be more appropriate, SPICE might be more appropriate, SPIDER. Some of these are more non-clinical related, some are definitely clinical, like PICO. Now you see PICO there, I've added the T there, the time element. So there is PICO without the time element, and there's PICO with the time element as well. So again, just some examples of possible frameworks that would be selected based on the nature of the search that you're doing and who it's for, essentially, particularly the subject matter. So with that in view, I've got PICO here. Now PICO is, I'm using it primarily because there is also an app that is available, which we probably don't have time to look at, but it is now designated the PICO app rather than purely PICO. But of course, you can use the PICO element only if you need to. So with this framework, you can already see I've applied the key concepts in the initial row there. So we've got the population group. So it could be a group, it could be an individual patient, for example, or it could be a patient with a particular problem. So in this case, it's older people, so age 65. So it's very specific. So they could be aged 80, they could be 70, but it's anyone 65 plus. Intervention, obviously, we're looking at influenza vaccine or flu vaccine. There's no comparison. It's not having the vaccine, essentially. Outcome, obviously, the risk of developing pneumonia. And we are looking at within the flu season as the time element, essentially. Now, we will only search particularly in three of these areas. The population, of course, that age group. And that can be handled in one or two ways. You can either, obviously do the keywords searching, possibly subject searching, or you can actually apply the age group age filter, which is in MEDLINE, as it is in CINAHL. So we have got a filter we can apply to the search. as well. For intervention, again, the second row there are the, in italics, in lowercase, are the synonyms, the keyword terms that we keep using. So, of course, influenza vaccine, influenza vaccination, flu vaccine, flu vaccination, etc. Also, there's no comparison in this instance. Outcome, pneumonia, pneumonitis, pulmonary inflammation, lung inflammation as well. We could factor those into the search query, and we won't add the timer in this context today. So with the third row there, again, you see the uppercase characters, the terms there. And for example, age 65 plus years is actually a subject term within MESH, but it's also used by the age group filter as well. Then there's influenza vaccine, obviously, as you would expect, will be a MESH term, and then likewise pneumonia, etc. Now, again, before you start the search, you may not know what those key subject terms are, the MESH terms are. So then you would be exploring or browsing the thesaurus to check those out. So you may only initially start with the keyword searching, and then you would find out what are those MESH terms. Unless, as I mentioned, some institutions prefer to start with the MESH search, they will find those terms, and then as a result of that, they will then derive the keyword search terms, the synonyms that would be used in the search query. Okay, so before we get into the live demonstration, just want to outline some of the concepts or ways of searching on the new interface right now. So again, some of you may already use the interface, some of you still have not yet migrated or are using it. But for title and abstract searching, it is now possible to search the title and abstract simultaneously. We have the XB field code that you see highlighted on this screenshot. So if you're looking for gallbladder dysfunction or gallbladder disease, it will search for these terms within either of these fields or both of these fields if they appear in both areas in the title and abstract, but it will search them independently of the title abstract as well. So again, you can select that from the drop-down menu as shown on the slide there, or you can enter XB followed by the appropriate search terms to search in those fields. Okay, so that field code is now available on the new interface. And I hasten to add that that field code would only be applied to a single database. So for example, if you were going to cross-search, if you wanted to cross-search MEDLINE with CINEL, then that field code would disappear. So on the other hand, if you want to search XB in MEDLINE, you can do it. If you want to search XB in CINEL, you can do it as well. But we are going to be focusing on MEDLINE, simply searching that database today and not cross-searching with another. Then in terms of the subheadings, some of you may have been accustomed to going to the toolbar link within the classic interface. We now have a designated tab on the advanced search page. So this is kind of the bottom half of the screen you're seeing here. So you can browse the MEDLINE MESH 2025 thesaurus. You can see it highlighted there. So when the tab is available, then you'll see the yellow or orange bar or line below it as well. You would then enter your search term to browse the thesaurus. So for example, we can search for flu vaccine here. And then when we click through to search, it will map us to the appropriate heading. The MESH term, of course, is influenza vaccines. So you're prompted to use influenza vaccines in this context. So in terms of identifying articles that have been assigned headings with the influenza vaccine, which of course are related to flu vaccine specifically. And then when you click on that, you'll click on the term itself. You will also see a scope note detailing, given a definition, description of the intervention or disease or the condition, wherever it might be. Plus, it will open up the subheadings if you wanted to be more focused in terms of the actual index terms. So there are ways in which you can focus more directly. Okay, so for example, if you want to look at pharmaceuticals in terms of influenza vaccine, then you can select that option as a subheading. Again, we'll make this a bit clearer with the live demonstration in due course. And of course, once you've selected your term or terms, your subject terms, your MESH terms, you can add it to the search. It will then populate the top search box with the syntax, with the identifying it's a subject heading, and you can run that and bring back results in the search history. So that's the initial searching, title abstract searching combined, and also featuring the MESH search as well, the medical subject headings. Now, we're just moving on before we go to the demonstration in terms of the other elements that we can incorporate into our search to make it in a more systematic fashion, and that is the use of wildcards and EBSCOhost. So we have the truncation, as you may have seen in other sessions. This also relates to the truncation of words, words with multiple endings. So if you want to look at physiology, physiology is physiological, then you can place the asterisk, the star after the L, and you'll find those variations. If, on the other hand, you placed it after the O, you're in a physio, then the asterisk, then of course that would also bring up physiotherapy, physiotherapist, etc. So always have to be mindful where you place the asterisk at the end of a word in order to truncate it, etc. Now, the truncation symbol can also be used between terms. So you see the example there, ventilator pneumonia. So if you put ventilator asterisk pneumonia, it would search for ventilator pneumonia, ventilator acquired pneumonia, and ventilator associated pneumonia. So obviously broadens the search to include variations of that term. You could also say with cognitive therapy, for example, you can have cognitive behavioral therapy or simply cognitive therapy. So again, you can use the asterisk between the terms to search for those variations. Phrase searching, exact phrase searching is to use, you need to use the quotation marks, the double quotation marks. So that means you'll find at least one occurrence of the exact phrase influenza vaccine. Okay, so that's the double quotation marks. Now, you might also find when you're searching in this way, you may get results sometimes where you may not see any terms highlighted. You may wonder, why did those results appear? And it's quite possible that because it also picks up hidden metadata that is only visible to the publisher, the user yourself may not see that. So some items will appear in the result list, and you wonder, how on earth did this get retrieved? And it's likely that if you were doing, for example, an exact phrase search, and that phrase appeared in the hidden metadata, it would still be retrieved. Okay. I know there are plans in the past to try to offset that or to highlight that in some way. I don't know where we are with a new platform in that regard. We can find out more about that, but just to let you know about that. We also have the question mark, the single character wildcard replacement as well. So if you're looking for organization, for example, with the S or the Z, you can replace either character and find both variations. Likewise with woman or women, you can replace the vowel, the A or the E, with the question mark and find both variations. Likewise with analysis, if you used the question mark instead of the E or the I, you'd find analyses and analysis as well. Now you've got the alternate spelling as well. So the contrast in UK and US spelling. So if you put P hash, then the rest of pediatrics, P, so not PAE, just put P hash E, then you'd find both variations. And likewise with color, if instead of putting OUR, you put O hash R, then you'd find both variations of spelling. Okay. You can combine the wildcards, of course. So you see an example there with pediatrics or pediatrics. So I've got the alternate spelling plus the truncation. So I could find pediatric, pediatrics, pediatrician, pediatricians in both variations, US, UK English, as it were. And then finally, you may find some use of this. This is to find words with exactly one character at the end, the hash and the question mark. So if you are looking at monkeys, for example, for whatever reason, then you can find monkeys, not monkey, if you put hash question mark at the end of the term. Okay, so you may find some other variations or ways in which you use that particular functionality. But this is the point here, is to highlight this is the syntax used on the EBSCOhost platform. We do have a help sheet detailing some of this for MEDLINE specifically. So again, a lot of this is standard to the classic interface, and it's being brought over to the new interface as well. And then finally, just to cover proximity searching, again, some of you may have seen this before. Okay, so just to stop there then, Kate has asked, what's the advantage of using hash rather than just question mark? So question mark just literally replaces a single character in terms of it's either or. So organization S or Z, women A or E. Okay, but the hash is specifically designed to retrieve records where the spelling differs between US and UK English. So where we have PAED for pediatric or PED, it compensates the spelling there. Okay, so there is a subtle difference between using them. Okay, but again, I haven't experimented to see what would happen if you use the question mark. You could try that out and let us know. But specifically, hash has been designed to compensate the difference in spelling. The question mark is designed to obviously replace a single character. Okay, but if you want to try that out, let us know how you get on and see what happens. If there is a difference, there probably should be, but again, it'll be good to know. So thank you for that. So proximity search operators, you may be familiar with ADJ, adjacency. EBSCOhost uses near and within. So there's two. One focuses on the terms as they appear in any order, so near. So it's regardless of the order. So the example there is gallbladder N2 dysfunction. Now, I've truncated dysfunction because this is a good example where you could search for gallbladder dysfunction, or it could be dysfunctional gallbladder. So by using N2, I'm saying I want to retrieve records where gallbladder is near 2 words or less of dysfunction, or dysfunction or dysfunctional is 2 words or less near gallbladder. So it's regardless of the order, essentially. And we'll see an example of that in the live search as well. Now, if preferred, you can use the within proximity operator, the precision operator, and that searches for the words in the order you enter them. So using the same example, if we put gallbladder W2 dysfunction, it would find gallbladder within 2 words less of dysfunction. Okay. If we put W0, then we'll be treating that as a phrase, gallbladder within 0 dysfunction. Okay, so the actual number you use is literal. So if you put 3, it's 3 words or less. If you put 5, it's 5 words or less. If it's 2, it's 2 words or less. Other platforms, for example, I won't name them, but other platforms do have, in fact, I can say this because this is a fact. So just to clarify, ADJ2, for example, in Ovid would be 1 word or less, or say ADJ4 would be 3 words or less, and you can check their website for that. I've had that verified. So again, with other platforms, the numbering may be treated slightly differently. Okay, with EBSCO, it is very specific and literal in that sense. Multiple terms can be used on either side of the operator. So for example, you could search for heart attack or myocardial infarction, and then N4 statins. So that means you will find heart attack or myocardial infarction near 4 words or less of statins, plus you would find statins near 4 words or less of heart attack or myocardial infarction. Okay, comment from Kate there. In that instance, so related to using W0, would you just use double quotes instead? I would typically use double quotes. Now, if you can configure the functionality, the search mode functionality. I'll just allude to that in a moment. So there's a proximity search mode, which is the default search mode for searching MEDLINE on EBSCOhost, and it's actually N5, so near 5 words or less, but it can be changed to W0. So in that context, you can specify behind the scenes that default search mode is phrase searching, but you have got double quotation marks that you can use in the course of a search for phrase searching in any case. Okay, but good observation there. Yeah, so W0 is a phrase search. Double quotations are an exact phrase search. That's the syntax you would use typically when you're running searches, keyword searches, for example. So thanks for that. Keep them coming. So we'll go now to live demonstration. I know we're almost halfway through the session already, so I want to spend some time on this. So let me just go to my screen and I'll share the MEDLINE on EBSCO's interface that you should be able to see now there. Okay, so as I said, we're going to run the query. So I just want to mention quickly here, I'm not going to explain some of this. I've done this in other sessions recently, but under search options, these are the search modes. So this relates to keyword searching. So again, when I start entering my terms on the top search box, unless I qualify it with a fill code, which I will do in this instance. So for example, you've got XB here, which I shared in the PowerPoint, but basic keyword search, unqualified search, if you have proximity on, it's going to look for the terms by default where they are near 5 words or less. Okay. Now, if you're in the NHS, I don't think we have any NHS attendees today, but in England, they've reconfigured this to have W0 as the default proximity search. So that means you would be treating the terms you enter, they would be retrieved in the order you enter them, and also next to each other as a phrase, essentially. So again, and this has been relabeled phrase, by the way. So there are some things that you can do with these. You can hide some of these elements, you can relabel them, etc. And with proximity, you can change the actual operator behind it as well in our admin tool. Okay, so again, we're not going to get into that today. And for each of these search modes, there's the EBSCO Connect context-sensitive help menu as well. Also expanders, if we're using the drop-down field codes, these typically will not be applied to our search, although they will appear in the search history as, in place, as it were. So what I'm going to do here, again, I'm not going to spend more time on this in terms of the actual interface, just going to run the search. And if there's any more questions, please let us know. So I am going to put in now, in parentheses, flu, or influenza, Okay, and then N3, so that's near 3 words or less, or vaccine. Right, so just put vaccine or vaccines. I'm going to truncate this as well. So we're now going to go for this. So that can be flu vaccine, influenza vaccine, or influenza vaccines, or it could be the vaccinations for flu or influenza, etc. So again, we'll truncate it. So we've got the two terms in parentheses initially, plus the near operator, and we've got vaccine truncated, etc. Okay, so, and we're also going to qualify that with the XP field code. So this relates to the first part of the search, the simultaneous title abstract search for these terms. Okay, and then we'll look at the mesh term, the equivalent mesh term. So if we just run this now on this platform, okay, and what you'll see initially is the 3 rows stay as they are above. And now you see there's a little link there and an arrow, so you can open up the search history. So it's recording already how we searched on the result list page. Okay, so you can see this is set 1, S1. We've got the search string. We've got the search options. So it does record what is there by default, although these may be overridden by the command line search by the XP field code, but they still are detailed. The results are given, and then the specific database we're using is also illustrated here. And the tools menu will allow us to edit the search. So if we've made a mistake, or we feel we should add other terms or modify the near operator, etc., we can go in and change it there. So for example, if I wanted to do that now, I can just edit the search string here, click edit, and say that, let me just say I'll make it to N4 instead. Okay, and then update here. I'm not sure how much difference it make to the results, but we'll soon see. Okay, and I'll close this down, and then it will bring me back to the advanced results page. Okay, and it has actually enhanced it. I've got more results now than I had before. So again, you can modify the number, and you might find you will get more hits there. Okay. Now, also to add here, in fact, maybe I'll show that toward the end. It's also being tracked in recent activity as well, by the way. So we've got 2 areas now where you can view the search history. So this feature, by the way, needs to be enabled for your cells. If you've migrated already, or when you come to migrate and you want to see this, this is enabled in our EBSCO Experience Manager admin tool. Okay, you may have heard me mention that in other sessions if you've attended those. But essentially, this is not on by default. So we had comments from librarians saying, oh, I don't see this, and it's simply because it hasn't been enabled, that's all. It is live, it is functioning. However, we don't mandate that you have it. So again, it's your decision. After this session, you may decide, yeah, we need this enabled. So if you don't have it, then please do contact your local EBSCO account team for that, and they can do that for you, or advise someone who can do it for you, okay, to implement this. Okay, so just to let you know, it's there. Okay, so it's available, but it may not be switched on for yourselves. Okay, so that's the first step. Then we're going to look at the mesh terms. So to look at the mesh terms, we've got the MEDLINE Mesh 2025 terms under Research Tools. If we click that link there, it takes us to this page. I'm just going to clear this and browse for the term. So again, just to illustrate, if I go to look for flu vaccine, that's my keyword search browse and the mesh terms, the mesh index. And you can see I'm prompted to use influenza vaccines. You can see it also available here. But if I click on the term itself, it gives you the scope note. Okay, it may suggest other terms sometimes. I can select it here, and it also, shows us what it's used for. So if I was to search for any of the browse the thesaurus with any of these terms, it would map me to influenza vaccines. Okay, so. And then we have the mesh tree. So for the National Law of Medicine, you have the hierarchy of terms. So not surprisingly, it comes under viral vaccines, biological products, etc. Obviously, the top area is chemicals, drugs, and you can see it included there as well. Okay. Major concept simply means that will be the primary focus of any literature indexed or assigned with that term. Okay, and that's fine if you're being quite focused. Again, it goes back to the types of searches you're running. Is it simply a lookup? Is it exploratory? Or is it a more systematic search? And if it's more systematic, then you might want to keep it quite broad because you're going to combine that with other terms. So you want to find more what's out there. So I'm going to select that term now and just run that. So bear with me as I do that. So I can add to search. And you can see it pops up in the search box now, so I can run the search here, and it will add that to the search history. So I've got my first two elements. This relates to the population group. Oh, sorry, the intervention. So actually, you may have noted, I am not doing the initial P element of PICO here, or PICOT, because I'm going to apply a filter to that at the end of this. Okay, so I'm going to combine the two together. So you can set both sets and use the Boolean OR for that, combined with OR just above the sets there. And then it populates the combined set in the top search box, and then you click search here. So this is grouping the kind of intervention element in one set of results. And you can see they're in reverse chronological order, so we can resort this, clicking ID, we'll do that later, but you'll see the combined figures there, and we're still in the MEDLINE database. So the next step then is to look at the, let's see, the pneumonia. Again, this is the other element of PICO. So this is the outcome element, as it were, the risk of developing pneumonia. So we are going to do a keyword search again. So pneumonia. In fact, let me just do this now. I might do this slightly differently here. Let's see. Okay, I might just do in a similar way I did the other search. I'll do pneumonia. Pneumonia here. Now it could be pneumonitis, so I could actually truncate this as well. Actually, I'm going to just do something different than I plan to do. So that's pneumonia and pneumonitis, and also and I can put in. Let's see if we can work this one out now. Lung inflammation. Actually, let's just do it this way. I'm going to do it. Lung inflammation. Inflammation. Actually, you could do it. No, actually, I'm going to do this for sake of time. I'll just do it as it is right now. So when you double quotation marks for these phrases, okay. But there are ways to expand this search, but I think for time, I'll just keep to those for now. So make sure I got that correctly spelt. I'll also show you where you can, again, well, we've seen already where you can edit the search if you make any mistakes, or when I modify a search, you can do that. And again, we're going to go into title abstract and search here. So again, that would just append that search string. So it's now S4 to the search history. Okay. So we got results there, and we're still in the same database. And now I'm going to find the equivalent subject term. Again, go back to research tools, to the MEDLINE mesh headings. I clear this and then clear this also. And I will then put in pneumonia. Okay. So this time you'll notice a difference here. I've got pneumonia here, which is fine. And I've got also, apart from major concept, explode. So this means that we can include related terms as well, or narrow terms, narrow subject headings. And then also, if you click the drop down, you'll see the various subheadings that can also be included. For example, immunology is there, diagnosis, and so on. So again, it depends on the nature of the search that you're doing, whether you want to narrow the subject heading to retrieve records which are, for example, about epidemiology, and you can see the scope note for each of these headings too is given. So you can be more focused in terms of the mesh terms that you retrieve. Okay, but again, we're going to just click this one. I'll click this term just so you can see the context of it. So again, it's the description, the scope note, what it's used for, history notes as well. So again, you've got other, times you might have used other terms in the past. Okay, and you've got other annotations, tree numbers. This relates to the hierarchy of terms. So again, this is on their respiratory tract diseases, and you can see if I select the term here, it's also selected there. I've got the auto explode on as well. Okay, so it's include bronchopneumonia and community acquired pneumonia as well. Okay, so again, I think all of those, and then maybe some others here that I want to include also. So let's see. We've got C, and you'll notice, by the way, that the term appears more than once because it features in different elements of the hierarchy. It's not that we're duplicating the search, it's just that it appears elsewhere. Okay, so I'm going to leave it as that for now. Okay, again, if you're doing more, this could be the first iteration, and you may be adding other terms later on, okay, to support this. Okay, so we can add the search here. So it's really illustrative. I'm just going to go back to, I think there might be questions here. Yes. So yes, Kate. So explode, yeah, it does. It does put in other related headings as well. So for pneumonia, we saw it would pick up bronchopneumonia and also community-acquired pneumonia as well. So again, it does that. That's correct. It's when you explode a term, and you can see the term itself has the plus sign. So wherever the plus sign is associated with the mesh term, with the medical subject heading, it indicates that term has been exploded to include related terms, other related medical headings as well. So we've got that set now, so we can combine S4 and S5 using the OR operator. So again, grouping them together. Okay. And then we're just going to move on here. Okay. So we haven't had a comparison, obviously, because it's with no vaccine essentially. We have obviously we still have yet to factor in the population group, but we have got the initial intervention, which influenza vaccine. We've got the outcome, which relates to pneumonia, and we're obviously assuming it's all going to be in the context, or we can analyze further in terms of the time frame, the flu season. But what I want to do now is I'll combine again the two sets, so that if I've got them there, I need to run this search now. So both those sets will be run, and I'll combine them together, and then I want to filter according to the age group. So at this stage, what I'll do, I'm going to resort these. So click ID, and now you can see the two sets that relate to the title object search, the mesh search for influenza vaccine, which is S3, the two related to pneumonia, etc., which is S6. Okay, so that's the title object search, and then the mesh search, so XBMH there. So we've got those two sets. I'm going to combine them with AND, okay, to group them together. And then I want to go in and filter according to the age group. So if we scroll down, you'll see we've got so far over 4,000 records. And now I can apply the filters. So if I go to all filters here, then you'll see multiple filters here, including publication date. So what I'll do first is going to go to the age group initially. So, and you can see here on the age group, we've got this hit count here. But also importantly, if we can resort these, by the way, to the listing. So you can see here for age group, majority are going to be 65 plus. Yeah, there's 65 plus, and there's also age 18 over. So again, I guess these might actually include those who are 18 over. So you could be more specific than that. So this is anyone over 65. This one, anyone aged 18 over. And you can see the references there to the hits for those filters as well. So if I apply this now to this set of results, yes, and you can see we've got 1,300, okay? And you can see that age group filter is indicated in the search options. So if you're looking, we talk about reproducible searches, we talk about reporting on searches, such as you would have to do with Prisma, then this does clearly indicate that you have used a filter, okay, that's recorded in this search history, okay? And we'll see that in a moment. You can download the history as well. So one more thing I will do is also look at a time frame. So again, in terms of the actual, how far back do you want to go with the literature? So we'll go back 10 years in this instance. So you can also apply the filter here for this past 10 years. We are going to be introducing a custom date range here as well, by the way. So that will also be available. That is also available from here as well, publication date, and it does give you the custom range there. But at the moment, you have to choose a particular date, whereas the future development of this custom range filter will allow you to enter just a year if appropriate. Okay, but we'll go for past 10 years and apply it. Okay, so we've got 765 results. Obviously, we could look at other ways to filter and narrow it down, but this will be the first kind of the starting point with our search, and we've got these records now available. And so just to point out then, if you were looking to, if you want to modify any of these elements, then you can simply go in and, choose the set, edit search details, edit the search, etc. And then you can, make changes here as well. Okay. So again, you can change the query string, etc. I won't do that right now. cancel that. So again, whether you spot errors or you just come up with other terms, then you can do that. Okay. So I will have to resort this again, by the way. And if you are looking to download this search history to record it, so again, if you want to reproduce it later, or you simply need a record to report on it, then you can go in and select the set numbers, and then you could download from here. And then you have the choice of format. So PDF, MS Word, for example. If you prefer a spreadsheet or a table, then you got CSV here as well. And you can download it accordingly here, or RTF. So you can download here, save the file. And then if you open that up, and I might need to drag that across. So let me just tidy this up a bit. You can see this more clearly. So I'm going to drag this across in a moment. So I'll just drag this across. So you can see this is a spreadsheet of this is the CSV format for the search here. So it gives you the set number, the search query itself, the codes you use, etc., the expanded display terms, etc., plus when the search was run, including the time, the results, the search mode, the expander applied if applicable, the interface, database, and also publication date is given here as well. And I think you'll also see in a moment, yeah, so that's just a summary basically, and you can see the results with the final set there as well. So again, that's just an alternative format. You do have that format, but then you also have the rich text format. So if I download that one, that will just give you a standard document here, which I'll drag across again, and it describes or details it here, as you can see there. Again, the search run date and time is recorded, numbers, the results count is also included as well. And then you'll see each set is identified. So we're consistent with the database, the interface, etc. So the platform we're using, okay, as you see there. Okay, so that's another option. I won't save that one. Okay, and you can also save the search as well, by the way. So if you go to the top of the results list, you can select the dots here, we call that the kebab sometimes, the tools menu, and you click save search here. Opens up this form. It does have the combined query below. You can copy that to the clipboard to rerun that if you wish to, but you can just change the name of this. So for example, over 65s and influenza vaccine. Okay. And then if it's for a user, you could indicate who it's for. You could describe it further. You can add comments to the search, maybe other things you want to include or review. But once you've done that, you can just save that search. Just scroll to the bottom of the page, save it, click close, and that will be in the default save folder under my dashboard. So it'll be saved here under the searches tab. Okay, so you can see that here. Now it does indicate, and of course it does indicate the search mode, the expander if appropriate. Again, that's been overridden largely by using the XB fill code and the subject search, but we have got the filter for the past 10 years and referencing the age group as well. And on this tools menu, you can, again, you can change the search details and also add it to a project. Now, a project is a custom folder. So essentially, you need to be signed in to my EBSCO for this. So you can see there's a prompt here to create an account or sign in. So the sign in is actually on the EBSCO link on the top right there. So that opens up this page and you can sign in from here as well and also create an account. So if you don't have an account to EBSCO, so if you don't have single sign-on, for example, which the NHS have in England, which synchronizes the EBSCO personal account with Open Athens, then you would need to go in and create your own folder here. So I need to go in to create an account here, fill in this form, which some of you would have seen before in other sessions, and we do support Google sign-in also. Once you've entered that data, that information, then you just sign in here and then enter your credentials to sign in to your personal folder. So it means any saved search now we save beyond the session. Okay, and you can see I've got others that have been previously saved here as well. So that session is now there. It also means I can now set a project in relation to this topic. So if I was working, and I'll come back to your question in a minute, Kate. So if I'm doing multiple searches for multiple users, then I can set up custom folders for each of those groups, as it were, or subjects. So for example, I can select this project here, or this search here. I can click add to project. And if I don't have one currently on this topic, then I can create a new one here. I can give it a name. So I put over 65s. Again, I can add a due date. So if there's a deadline for me to complete this search and submit results to the user, then I can choose that. So let's go for the 2nd January. And again, I can add comments in the description field. And now you get confirmation on the top right that that's been created. And if I go to projects now, you'll see I've got a dedicated project here. You can see I've done some others here before. And it gives me my due date here. So I can go in here and view the search strategy here, or the search here. Okay, I can also delete it from here as well. Okay, if I go into any of these searches, but I can go in and, for example, this one, I can delete this one. Just delete it from this menu so I can tidy this up a little bit. Okay, and I can also sort by the most recent or the oldest ones, previous ones I've run as well. Okay, for those who are not migrated, it is possible to view. So when you migrate to the new platform, anything in your save folder will be migrated to the new interface. However, if you have an old custom folder, for example, under EBSCO within the classic interface, then you'll need to get the report on that and download it from here. Okay, so you'll be prompted to do that in the projects folder, as I'm doing now. And that will switch to download report, and you can download a spreadsheet. In fact, I'm not sure. Maybe because I'm using a different demonstration site, but normally this would switch to download report, and you can download a spreadsheet detailing the content, the folders, subfolders of your custom folders in EBSCO. Okay, for your records, etc. Okay, so if you wonder what get report relates to, it relates to the custom folders in the classic EBSCOhost. Okay, so if we go back to our search, I'm just going to go back here. Let's see where we got to. Let's see. Just go back to this page for now. Okay, and if you were looking at the results, obviously what you would do typically is identify some key results, and from there you can explore further where which ones are going to be particularly useful, or which ones I should review in case I could find clues to other search terms, etc. So you can see here we can view the abstract. We can open up the abstract for each record where those are available. Likewise, you can expand the author fields to view the other authors, and also the subject fields to view other subject terms as well. There is a setting in EBSCO Experience Manager which allows you to view the abstract from the beginning in its entirety. So that's something which is set by administrators in EBSCO Experience Manager, which means for every abstract available, they will be displayed in full. Okay, some instances there are no abstracts, or they're only short. Others are like this one, a bit longer. So kind of we don't clutter the screen with a lot of content. We keep the records brief, but there's more information that you can access here. Okay, so just come back to Kate's other question. Was there some editing that needs to be done to view the Excel properly? Any top tips? Yes, I mean, with the Excel spreadsheet, it is a CSV spreadsheet, also you can view that in Excel. You just need to expand the column headings. I don't think there's much more. I mean, you can amend it as you need to, but obviously there's a default settings for that CSV format. And if there's any comments or feedback about that, please do let us know. We can feed that to our product managers about that. But it's set in a certain way format at the moment. So it's really, for you to play with, as it were, to modify if you need to. But the basic, elements are there, the search set, the queries, the number, the hit count, etc., the search modes expanders that have been applied, all that is detailed in that spreadsheet. But please do let us know if you've got any thoughts or feedback on that format, as it were. So again, you can download it as it is, and then you can, as with the Word, as with rich text format, you can just adapt them. You may want to, copy them to another document, as it were. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see. Now, I just want to point out a feature here as well. You may not have seen, I might not have shown it in other areas, in other sessions, but you've got also the cite count here, cited by 8 articles, references. So this one, for example, it's cited by 36. So again, this could be quite an important article, as it were. It's been cited, and you can click on the cite tool, and it will list the articles which have cited this article. And you can see here, there's the highest, and then there's also the most recent. Okay, so again, you can see more recent articles that have cited this article itself, and you can save these as well. So any articles you want to save, by the way, you can just simply select the bookmark icon and save them individually, or you can go in to the top of the list, and then you can select up to 50. That will likely be modified in the future. There's an enhancement about this, so it's possible this will be changed, maybe increased in due time. So at the moment, you can say 50 at one time. Okay, and so you can download this listing if you wanted to. The metadata, Word is there, CSV is also there again, BibTeX is also there. Otherwise, you can also add these to a project. So I can go in and add these to this project as well. Okay, so if I go back to my project, you'll see now not only does it have the search, but it has those records also stored here as well. And I can go through this list at a later time and edit it. I can remove certain ones that may not be so important. I could take, for example, these couple here, this one, maybe. I'm just doing these at random, just these items, and I can just delete those two. Okay, from the list. So I can obviously screen them later on as I need to, and I can even go in, download these, export as well. So you can export them in RIS format, by the way, or RefWorks, as you see there. And then you can also delete from here as well. And then the search is still here. Okay, so they're just other options for processing records here. I'm conscious of the time, though. I just want to mainly focus on the search aspect using the interface, as it were. I did mention in recent activity that is also tracked the way we're searching as well. So you can see here, it's in reverse chronological order. So I can resort this by selecting oldest, and now you can see the sequence. Okay, again, it gives the time, it gives the hit count for each of these strings, as it were. So you can see there, they are down to the 765 results that we obtained when we applied the age group filter, and also the past 10 years as well. So that information is there, and you can also download the search here as well. These search strings up to 500, in fact, in total. Okay, so again, you can still go in and view and even delete sets if you need to from this page. But I think most now will opt to use the search history that shows on the result list page. Okay, also any viewed records will be shown here as well. Okay, so just to point out before I switch back to the PowerPoint as well, there is the online help menu here. So the online help will direct you to the quick start guide initially, and this has been modified by your institution to go to your own help site, as it were. But this gives you an overview of the interface, the various elements of searching and browsing, searching using the dashboard. So again, searching with wildcards. There is a dedicated page for that here. Okay, more information. So I just touched on that today and illustrated it somewhat. You've got also, sorry, let me go back here. Let's see, using the tools as well, using the bookmark feature, using the cite and export tool. And just want to mention that briefly as well about exporting results. Again, there's a cite tool. So there's a lot of tools here. We don't really have time to get into. We do cover it in other sessions. But if I go back to here, and what I might do is just going to skip here quickly to run this set again. Now, when I do this, it will run it to add it to the search history, the initial search history, I think. Or maybe not this time. Okay, so you have got other tools here. Again, you've got the cite tool for citing references or exporting the citation as well. And if you want to export the records, this complete set of records over 760, then you can choose the export option. You will require to sign into EBSCO as well, but you can choose the appropriate format here and then send, and then you'll receive confirmation that a link to download metadata for your results will arrive in your inbox shortly. So that's valid for 7 days. So you can then import that into your preferred software. Okay, so that option is also there. But if I just go back to the PowerPoint, okay, so we've gone through a live demonstration. So we went through the search. This just illustrates some of the sets that we've combined in the search history, and also to point out again that search parameters and filters are also recorded in the search, as is the database detailed as well. So again, for reporting purposes. And of course, when you're doing the initial scoping as well, you may find, one or two articles that are particularly relevant. And of course, that, as I said, that would also allow you to cite them, to save them, etc., and also to generate further clues for references. So again, this example, when you're citing, and I've got Harvard selected here, but others are available as well. So again, these would be articles that are particularly relevant to the search, and you might want to explore them further. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have got this help sheet on the search syntax for EBSCOhost for MEDLINE. So again, it's been updated recently. So again, it will just give you a summary of the syntax that you use. We do have a comparison, by the way, with Ovid if you're interested in that. So we do provide a direct comparison between the two syntax for the different platforms. Okay, so training support, we do provide ample support. As I mentioned earlier, if you're interested if you're still using the classic interface, we do have a session recorded some time ago on that for this topic, systematic literature searching in MEDLINE. So that is still available on our YouTube channel, but more and more I'm adding newer recordings, edited recordings from the sessions I'm running, which relate to the new interface. And there are a couple of short tutorials which highlight certain functionalities which have been released. And I'm working on one also for the search history, which you've seen today as well. And of course, EBSCO Connect, the main support portal, connect.ebsco.com. And within this, you can also access EBSCO Academy, which provides different additional video content in relation to key features, elements, services, databases, and also the e-learning paths and also instructor-led sessions as well, which my colleague Sood is hosting a lot of those for the UK via this platform. Okay, and lastly then we have the Healthcare Training Resources portal, where I've tried to collate much of the content related to healthcare database like MEDLINE, and including links to upcoming training sessions and also documentation. And as I said, there are some key documents, support materials that are available for this session in conjunction with some of the things I've mentioned today. Okay, feel free to contact me at rcrooks@ebsco.com. So thank you for your time. I hope it's been informative, I hope it's been helpful, and we'll continue to run these sessions and also develop them further with new functionality, new features, and also based on feedback as well. Thank you very much.